Welcome back to Block TV. Everywhere I look, there is red. It is looking down, death and destruction. I am not talking about the coronavirus. I'm actually talking about the crypto markets. All the numbers are down across the board, and to help us figure it out all through, we have our own technical analyst, Joe Saz. Joe, what is going on?
Yeah, I think this is pretty normal activity right now. I don't think that this means, this pullback means that any bullish sentiment, all hope is lost or anything like that. But let's jump into the charts real quick and explain what I've been noticing. So pretty much you can see that sellers have been in control of what I like to call the bedrock, the 5 to 2%, 5 to 2.5% control distance from price. So sellers have pretty much been in constant control of the bedrock, which buyers took over for a little bit here, but now it seems like sellers are gaining some steam again. But my top indicator had been lit up on using Trader here at a value of greater than 30 on order book depth non-cumulative 10 to 25%. Greater than 40 value, we were pretty much in it. That's like my top E condition, and here we were. We were topped out. We didn't have really any band support, and which means that the order book was very illiquid on the buy side or extremely liquid on the sell side, which meant that buyers were going to have to overcome some serious obstacles to break through this. And clearly, they were overextended again into a steep downside move. We're talking a few million in liquidations, 5 here, 4 mil, another pocket here of 12 mil, 5 mil. So it's still been a strongly bullish biased market. A lot of people are expecting the happening to really drive price up. So I think we're getting like a little bit of a fake out here. So I still think that this fake out is a bit dramatic. I mean, look at what it's done to the daily chart here, or even the 4 hour. Let's start with the 4 hour. We've kind of created an obscure head and shoulders here, tilted up. Now this would make me lean bullish on a head and shoulders. Normally, a head and shoulders has a horizontal neckline and a horizontal shoulder line. And you can see here's left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. Now, since this is tilted up, this makes me lean bullish. On top of that, uh, we're nearing a perfect backwardation scenario on the daily or 4 hour. You can see that our contracts that are expiring in June are trading very close to spot price. And so, if we enter that stated backwardation, which some may believe we've already hit, and we might be exiting that phase. That's pretty much one of the big things that I'm looking for. I think that we still have a little bit more downside to go on, and I think the futures market may react a little bit more to that. And if we can hit a perfect zero level contango, and that means that this orange line hits this dotted white line here, that means that the futures price is trading equivalent to the spot value. And generally, when that happens, pretty much every time it's happened, we've had a humongous price spike, or at least a really good looking price spike. So I'm expecting a combination of things to happen. On the 4 hour here, I'm expecting us to hit the bottom of this neckline. I'm expecting us to hopefully hit backwardation. And the play out on the daily, let's take a quick look. That will probably mean that we hit the 128-day moving average one more time, probably with the wick, and then we start violently building our bullish momentum again. This bounce off the 200-day moving average was great. This follow through was terrible, and this is exactly what you can expect from a bad follow through. So I think this is just normal operations, and I have a feeling we're going to wick down below this neckline, and then we're going to hopefully continue in a bullish trajectory. But again, everything's up for grabs right now.
Mm-hmm.
The
Joe,
coronavirus is throwing everything into disarray. Tons of external variables going on right now.
Joe, on my head and shoulders, my shoulder is also bullishly slanted. Now, you're saying that it's coronavirus, essentially versus halving. The halving is coming up. Which you think is more powerful? Which will outlast and maybe outpull the market? Will Corona bring it down, or will the halving be strong enough to overcome Corona and pull it up?
The first question is, which do I think will outlast? I think Bitcoin will outlast. I don't think Corona is going to be an apocalyptic event. I think it's more likely going to be a very bad event. It's an unknown unknown. We know what the flu comes every year, right? When people get the flu, we know what to expect. when people get coronavirus and this thing's going crazy, we don't really know what to expect. So there's certainly a high level of fear associated with that unknown level of disease, right? So I do believe that this is causing an immediate impact on the market, and markets are probably going to get worse. The Federal Reserve did an emergency Fed cut recently, and we I don't know if that's going to be enough. I'm thinking it's time to put stops in on stocks. I think that there could be another two or three impulses to the downside. So I just want to be prepared for that. But I think that if people are looking for a way to preserve their wealth, I don't really think anything's safe right now. I mean, anything that you touch with your hand is unsafe, and any speculative asset is unsafe. So I do think that coronavirus, in the short term, especially as New York City is engulfed in coronavirus, which of course was inevitable, whether the mayor says it or not, it was inevitable. I think, to be honest, to be politically correct, most places were going to get hit, and most places with big populations were probably going to be hit the worst.
Hmm.
So I think NYC is probably going to get hit badly. I think they already declared a state of emergency. I think markets are going to suffer, and I think that includes all markets. So hopefully this Head and Shoulders does play out, and hopefully crypto enthusiasts at least are the ones pumping this up. But of course, fear is a very powerful sentiment to play, and I'm thinking that we can reverse, technically speaking, but of course, with the underlying fear narrative, there's really a lot of things being tossed in the air right now.
Hmm. Well, Joe, it is very scary times. What are you personally doing to prepare for the coronavirus?
Well, I got tens of thousands of bullets. I got guns. I got water. I got food, and I got a natural water source.
Has Joe,
So
has bullets been found to be effective against the coronavirus?
Uh, well, food and water hasn't been effective either, but they certainly will be if people try to take mine. So that's pretty much my perspective.
Well said. All right, well, let's take a step away from Corona and Bitcoin. Let's look at something else. Ethereum, how's that looking?
Ethereum, I was just looking at that a second ago, and all right, I'm a little surprised. Ethereum, I think, is supposed to be, it's kind of like the one last hope, you know what I mean, for crypto. But you can see this series of lower highs and that's just really deadly. Lower highs, lower low up in here. Strong reversal. People really didn't want ETH to collapse. This thing's down to 225, supported by the 50-day moving average into a bullish crossover of the long and intermediate term moving average. In this case, purple being 125, blue being 200. So we're days out from a bullish crossover there. I mean, this really has a number of reasons to be bullish. Again, I think the crypto space is really bleeding right now, as you said earlier, and it's quite obvious. Everything's really getting gutted right now. I think that ETH shouldn't be responding this poorly, especially considering the ton of ETH heads out there have a lot of hopium to grab onto or to smoke. There, ETH Denver and DeFi and all this garbage going on. I think ETH of all things shouldn't be reacting, very poorly right now. So if there was to be some sort of correlation or a break from a correlation to Bitcoin, I think ETH should be it. And this 50-day moving average is going to be really powerful support, or it's going to be a great indication to sell. So right now, ETH is like standing at the edge of the cliff, and it's looking down. I'm getting a little nervous about ETH right now.
Hmm. Well, Joe, so far there have been no confirmed cases of corona for bots or machines. So theoretically, XRP should come out unscathed. How's XRP looking?
Yeah, XRP, their sock puppet army, and all that are looking probably good. I know Jeff Goldberg submitted his lawsuit against Twitter for banning his account, and anyways, he's the one that exposed the massive number of sock puppet accounts and the XRP bot army. XRP is really not looking great right now. I don't want to say lower lows are on the table just yet, but XRP really had a chance, and it gave that up. So we're now down into a we're well below a convergence of bullish crossovers here. Bullish crossover the short intermediate, short long-term moving average, and we're trading well beneath both of them. We've now lost the fight to the 125-day moving average, this purple line. We're now on our way to testing setup trend line support. Now, I wouldn't expect this to hold. This is just sequential setup trend line support. So I don't really think there's too much significance in that, especially since it's been running for so long. I think this is going to break down. I don't really have a great target, but I'm not really a head and shoulders guy, but I mean, I point out patterns when I see them, and this is pretty much what I'm seeing right here. So it's kind of another vague head and shoulders. If anything, we can actually maybe even say that this has the same bullish tint in a way. I guess you can't really say that because this point of contact to this point of contact wouldn't create a parallel set of lines. So I think this is in a very, very weird space right now. Trading, being resisted by the 200-day moving average, being resisted now by the 125-day moving average. Setup trend line is your last hope, and that's not something I like to put my faith in. So I would say XRP is looking a little dangerous to me. And our RSI is pretty neutral, this indication down here. Pretty neutral, so I think that this thing can easily enter oversold and grossly oversold territory, which would probably put us back very possibly below 20 cents. So I think if you're an XRP hodler, I think this is going to be you're going to be experiencing some turbulence. I can't believe after all these bullish crossovers we get such a negative impact. It's really surprising to me how bad this is looking.
Mm-hmm. Joe, on a day like today where the market is red across the board, there still are some coins that are actually trading in the green on the day, in the top 100. There's a WAX, there's Hashgrass. How could a coin, or what would make a coin still trade in the green on a day like today?
Probably a small, very illiquid pool of users. The coins you mentioned aren't top 10 coins. So the market participants in a top 10 or top 50 coin or something like that, probably less likely top 50. But the market participants are going to be a lot more technical, and of course, playing on emotional sentiment is going to be included in that trade, in that buying and selling behavior. Now, if you're talking about coins, out of left field, then they're probably, especially new coins and stuff like that. We're still probably talking about pumps and green activity over there. Still a new wave of investors, fresh blood entering that asset. Stuff like that's going to be happening in the space. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that there will be coins that corner of the market coins, as I've been calling them, that continue to perform well. And that's all it is to me. It's just a very illiquid set of people trading an asset, and probably mostly insiders with a pre-mine and probably no incentive to sell just yet, because I don't think anyone doubts that a bull market is either we're in one now, or we're in a short-term bear and resuming bullish trend, which would pretty much put us in a bull market. So I don't think anyone really doubts that. I don't think anyone's really scared of a new low lower than 6,400 Bitcoin, which would of course mean lower lows for the rest of the market. So with that being said, I think that this is kind of a wait and see kind of game now, and I think that a lot of those corner of the market coins with very small liquidity pools are going to be pumping, dumping, or maybe even acting normal at times. It just depends.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joe, thank you so much for kind of explaining this wild day that we're having here. As always, giving your trader's take. And just know, if this whole thing does turn into a kind of zombie apocalypse, I'm coming straight for your house because you are the most prepared. Thank you so much, Joe Saz, for joining us today. And for all our viewers at home, if you want more on blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, make sure to check us out, BLOCKTV.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on